Well, as he said, my name is Joey Roberts. I'm the Vice President at Herald of Truth Ministries. I don't know if you're familiar with Herald of Truth or not, but we started in 1952. So actually, we're about to turn 71 years next month. And it was started as a local radio program and moved into television. We were seen on over 200 radio stations, or heard over 200 radio stations, and seen on over 50 television stations around the United States, all the way through the 70s and 80s. The idea for Herald of Truth is we have one mission. That's evangelism. Amen. We have to be able to carry through with the Great Commission. We exist to equip people to do the evangelism themselves and do it effectively. We encourage people and we engage in it ourselves. We engage in it in several different ways. One of those ways is through international ministries. We moved into international ministries in the late 80s, early 90s as the production costs got higher with our television and radio radio and television ministries. And we moved into the international ministries. I don't know if you're familiar with the name Juan Monroy. He has been in ministry for, well, he's 92, I think, 93, and he's been doing it for as long as he can remember. And so Juan works with us. He works in Spain. He travels all over the world, still to this day, preaching and teaching the good news of Jesus Christ. We also have a group in Zambia, Africa that we're working with that reaches Malawi and Zambia and a couple of different areas in that place. Tony Fernandez is our contact in Cuba. Tony has been with us for about 28 years. We were the first ministry allowed in Cuba. One of the great things that happens in Cuba is that we have a farm. That the church members there work and they distribute the food to the people who need it in their area. It's been so effective that the Cuban government actually just gave more land to the farm to be used. So if you know about the Cuban government and you know about their relationship with religious organizations, that's a pretty big statement. That's definitely God working right there in Cuba. There's over 42 churches now. There's almost 50 churches that Tony works with on a weekly basis. Excuse me. We just got a story, and I can't tell you names. I can't really give you much information because if it got out there, people would, it would definitely hurt this gentleman. But he is an official with the state of Cuba, and Tony sees him every week as he travels around, and he asked him for a Bible and for some material. And so Tony gave him this last weekend, gave him the Bible, and gave him the material. He wants to know who this God is. So God is definitely working in Cuba, and just saying that gives me chills up my spine. Central America, Bruno Valle works there. He and our international coordinator, Tim Archer, do a radio program and have a book called Lea la Biblia, and it talks about how to read the Bible, and they use they use the radio to teach and produce different ways of people learning and teaching how to do evangelism and just about the Bible and the story of Jesus themselves. In 2020, we started a new initiative called Mission Evangelize America because, as I like to say, America needs some Jesus too. And through this Mission Evangelize America campaign, we wanted to make sure that churches were devoted to the Great Commission. Our inside joke that we like to say is we either want to excite churches to follow through the Great Commission or irritate them enough that they will. And so really, if you look at it, we're losing 2 to 5 churches, and sometimes, depending on the data that you look at, up to 10 churches a week in the United States. Why? Is it because the gospel has lost its power? No. It's because people aren't getting up and going. And we've been too used to just sitting there and waiting to see who comes to visit, right? And that doesn't work. It never has. And so we have to be able to get up. And if we don't, what's at risk? Everything. Our president likes to talk about he has 2 sets of twin grandkids. And he wants there to be a church for them. I want to be a church for my kids. I want to be able to go out and have that, what that means, that church body to represent and to live with and for. And so we take the Great Commission seriously. The one that says to go not sit, right? It says to go and make disciples. And so we take that seriously at Herald of Truth. And we want to spark a revival among the nation with what we call MIA, Mission Evangelize America, to use technology, to use other means to excite the church to go out, or irritate if we need to go out and share the gospel. And we're using media to reach the lost. We've created 9 commercials that pretty much is a branding campaign for the Church of Christ. We have static ads that we use, and the static ads are used to reach and tell about who the church is. And then we have, I didn't mean to hit that. Then we have television commercials that can also be used on any device, from theater-sized screens to your little handheld phone or pocket device or whatever you want to have, a tablet, whatever it is. And they're all about bringing attention to the local church. Because I live in Abilene, Texas. Chase lives in Monroe, Louisiana. Our president lives in Columbia, Tennessee. We can't help Sam and Sally on the corner of your hometown, but who can? You and your church, right? And so it's about drawing attention to the local churches. So this is one of our first ads that we have. This is called Simple Christianity.
In a confusing and complex world, isn't it comforting to know that there is simple truth, simple faith, and simple Christianity? The churches of Christ.
So right there at the bottom underneath where it says Simple Christianity, we can brand that for the churches individually. We can put their logo, their information, but you'll see that the website there, simplechristtianity.us, has all of our commercials are aimed at a website with the idea that people go there, they find out information. What does it mean to have simple Christianity? Who is this Jesus? What does it mean to have simple faith and simple truth? And they have those answers on those websites. There's also a contact form on those websites. People fill that out. It comes right to my email inbox. And I send it to our closest partner church with the idea that they follow up. Because what's worse than somebody who wants to know about Jesus and nobody talks to them about it? And so this is another one that we have. It's called our Sinners Welcome one.
Hello? Hey, this is he. Are you sure? Okay. Yeah, I'll be right there. I'm here to pick up Alden Call. You his father? Yes. Did you fill this form out? We'll notify you of a court date within 30 days.
Dad, I know I messed up, and I know you're probably upset. I'm sorry.
Come on, bud. Let's get you home. Mom's gonna be worried.
Now, I don't know about you, but I need that last line right there every day. Sinners welcome. And the idea is the fact that anybody's welcome at church. And so that is a part of a 3 series that is God's Love Begins with forgiveness, family, and fellowship. We have ads for all 3 of those. And then our next set was Found in Jesus set, foundinjesus.us, and talks about that you can find joy, hope, and peace in Jesus Christ.
Just a minute. I'm on the phone right now. No, I'm back here. Here, just from the table. Yeah. No, stop. Cut it out, both of you.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Dad would have let me go.
Is Daddy watching us from heaven?
So you can find peace in Jesus Christ. And as I mentioned already, we have the websites that match all of the campaigns, trying to draw people in to find more information. On those websites, we have a list of our church partners. Some of them have even maps and directs to their links to their webpage or their services, all trying to get people focused, not on Herald of Truth. You won't find Herald of Truth on any of this. It's all about the local church. We are using technology called digital geofencing. I don't know if you're familiar with that term or not. When you go to Walmart to buy toothpaste, and the next day or the next few days, you pull up the weather app or YouTube or something like that, what's on your phone? What advertisement's on your phone? Crest, right? Or one of the other brands. Okay? That's because they circle that aisle at Walmart. They know exactly where that aisle is at Walmart. They circle that aisle. When you bring your phone in it has a GPS tracking number on it, it grabs that number and then it sends advertising to that number whenever you pull up some of those apps, right? We're using this technology for churches. We're able to circle neighborhoods or to advertise upcoming events, or if you have an event on your campus like a trunk or treat, we can circle your parking lot and we send ads to those devices. And they have the opportunity to see, we can't guarantee that they do, but we have the opportunity, they see it. The national average of click-throughs on advertising, if you've ever clicked on an ad on your phone, you're part of 0.05% of the people. 0.05, that's not a lot, right? But it's enough that people keep buying advertising on it. And so, but our ads, when we've run them, have gotten on average up to 0.18 to 0.27 percent of, so 3 to 5, 6 times the national average of click-through rates. That's pretty good. All focused, again, on bringing attention to local church. So if you want to advertise a gospel meeting or whatever, but the cool thing is once they get those ads, if they click it, we can track that, but we also can track if they come back to your facility. So we can say you had foot traffic, you had, 1,000 people saw it, 75 people clicked it, and 4 people came to your building. Now, what does that mean? Those are just numbers, right? Once they get to your building, whose responsibility is it? Right. It's yours. And so we can help you reach them. You've got to teach them. Right. And this is an example of the ads. And part of that reaching and teaching thing is something that we're very excited to launch this year. And I'm going to hand it over to Chase to tell you about Mission Evangelize Spanish America. So we're taking all of the things with MIA, the Mission Evangelize America that we have, but we're relocalizing and focusing it on reaching Spanish-speaking Americans. And he's going to tell you more about that right now.
Well, good morning. I said my name is Chase Turner. I've been working in Spanish outreach for the last 20 years. I know I look like I'm barely 20 years old, but that's what I've been forced to do. Some of you know Larry White, and I've been working with him the last 15 years in a work that is all online and a little bit of mail, I suppose. But just a little bit of background on that before we jump into Mission Evangelize Spanish America is in the last couple of years, we've averaged between 2.5 and 3 million Bible study downloads per month. And so it has really just exploded with growth online. The difficulty for me personally is that I need a personal relationship with the people that I want to evangelize. And when it's all online, when it's all email, it's good. You can build that connection. But locally, we need a personal connection. Evangelism is about relationships. We can't evangelize with writing a check. Now, certainly money is going to be needed with some of the resources we provide, but it's all about creating relationships for people. We want to bring people to you to develop relationships because we are doing that where we're at. And so Mission Evangelize Spanish America exists to provide you with those resources. So our vision is to be the evangelistic resource for your congregation. We want to train Hispanics to reach Hispanics because as good as my Spanish can be, and it's okay, a Hispanic is always going to be more effective reaching Hispanics than I will be. Here, they understand the culture better. They understand the language better. They understand the music. All of the things in their culture, they understand better than I do. On top of the fact, they look just like the people they're trying to reach. And so it makes sense to train them and encourage them and engage them in what we're doing. The mission is, like I said, to create relationships. Jesus, when he went about, created relationships with people. And he had a great method for doing that. Nearly every example we see of Jesus helping people in the Bible, he started with food. He started with healing. He started with meeting a very physical need. And people said, why? I want to know more. I want to be a part of you. I want to be with you. I want to do what you do. Even Simon said, give me that power. Give me that ability to do it. He wanted to be like the people that were like Jesus. Well, we don't have that specific power today, but what we do have is the power to create relationships to teach people about Jesus. And the Spanish population in the U.S. right now is at 60 million. 20% of the population in the U.S. is Hispanic. It's the fastest growing population that exists right now in the U.S. And we need to help them. If they're going to be here, and they are going to be here, and I want them here. I prefer their culture to our own because it's all about family. It's all about relationship. And they need help reaching people just like we do. And so the plan is just like the MIA plan. It is to equip Spanish speakers with the tools that they need to be more effective evangelists. It's to engage the Hispanic communities across the U.S. with professional and creative resources. We don't want to give them something that's subpar and think, well, I'm not going to use this. And one of the things I'm doing is working with other Hispanics in the U.S. say, I need your advice. I need what you think would be effective, not what an American, a look-like American guy thinks would be effective. And so I've talked with people from other countries, Spanish-speaking countries that live in the U.S., when we made our commercial. Whenever we're making more commercials, I want their input so that we can have a better opportunity, more effective resources to help them. And then obviously to encourage them by providing phone and email support. I will be the primary support for all of the people that work with Mason. So if you send an email, it's coming to me. My phone number, I've given out freely to everyone in the U.S., whether it's through email, whatever it is, and my phone, whether it's WhatsApp or whether it's a cell phone call, I get them all day. And so many times I have to go, who is this? Because I've given my number out to so many people, I never know who's calling, but usually it's, hola? Oh, okay, so you were one of the Hispanics that got my number, and then we try and figure out how we can help people. So the resources that we're offering, some of these are in development, but we're going to have a podcast that's going to be probably every other week or maybe once a month that we put something out, but something to engage people, give them another resource to listen to. One of my favorite things I've learned in the last year is spiritual disciplines. It's something I wish I would have learned a long time ago, but it's something that's very much lacking in our Spanish-speaking communities. Like most Americans, they don't know how to slow down. And so one of the things I'm really working to is to teach people to slow down. We get so busy doing so many things to try and be productive that slowing down is something we forget to do. And it's one of the hardest spiritual disciplines, but I believe one of the most effective. So I'm going to start the podcast probably in the fall on a series of lessons teaching people to try and get rid of hurry in their life. And so you can see a number of things. The commercials, we have one we're going to show just a moment. The custom website is something that's going to be neat for each partner of Mesa. We have a customizable website to where your church will have front and center of a list of resources. It will have your name on it. And then when people click on that, you will have whatever resources you want to offer. We will put there for you. We will host the server for you. All you have to do is send us what information you want, and we will put it on your website. So when people come to you and say, do you have a website? You can give them the website, and it'll take them right to your information. And again, we'll take care of all the hosting. The tech and spiritual support, like I said. The Bible course, primary Bible course campaigns that we have or resources are written by Larry. We have 25 courses that have written material, audio, and tests. For everybody that completes a course, they will get a diploma. In Central and South America, that's a huge deal. To have a plaque or diploma in your office says, I completed this course. Here in the States, it's still a big deal, and it gives a little bit of credibility to the people that are being evangelists. And so it's something we want to provide for them. Again, all of that is free. All of that is going to be something they can access online and go at their own pace. And so here's the first commercial we've created. For those of you that don't speak Spanish, just imagine. For those of you that do speak Spanish, you'll understand what we're talking about.
¿Eres nuevo del área? ¿Te mudaste por aquí y no tienes familiares ni amigos? ¿Necesitas un nuevo comienzo? ¿Buscas recursos para ti y tus niños? ¿Quieres conocer la cultura, comida, música y las personas de este lugar? Los seguidores de Cristo te ofrecen una comunidad y recursos para ayudarte en nuestra ciudad. Queremos ayudarte de cualquier manera que esté a nuestro alcance. Contáctanos al email info@mesa.us o por WhatsApp al 501-339-3339. Te deseamos lo mejor en todo. Dios te bendiga.
And so like those Mia commercials, this is what's going to pop up. And one of the things, my number was that number that was up there. You're all welcome to it when we get done. I've got some cards, you can have it. But I will be the go-between for people that want to use Mesa in your area. Now, if you said, I'd rather have my cell phone number up there, I will gladly put your number up there and they will contact you directly. But I'll also be glad to filter some of that stuff, because if there's any calls that you may not have time for, or I can try and set up meetings for you with the people so that I'm sitting at a desk 8 to 6 or whatever my time is during the day, and you may have a full-time job so where you can't answer those phone calls. But if I can answer and say, let me put you in contact, I'll have somebody reach out to you. I can be that go-between where they don't call your number and think they're not answering the phone today. I'll be able to be a more reactive, more prompt response for them to put them in contact with you. And so that's something that we're offering through Mesa as well. And so the big question is for you and for us is, how can we work together? What can we do to be more effective as a team? And that's really what we are. We're all on the same team to bring Jesus to your community. And so what we want to be able to do is draw people to your area. Our job, like Joey said with Mia, is we want to bring people to you, and then it's your job to help them. And the resources we offer outside of bringing them to you are the ones we've just mentioned with the podcast, the Bible courses, the tech support, the spiritual support, whatever that is. And again, for the Spanish side of this, I will be the primary contact. Again, it's not about an organization. It's about the local church. So if your congregation doesn't have a Spanish-speaking ministry, but you want to start one, we want to help you start one. And that's going to start with one volunteer. We need somebody to send people to. The beauty of Anglo churches that want to do that is most Anglo churches are going to have resources that will help this effort. And so if you have a food kitchen or a food pantry or a clothing pantry or a drive or whatever that is, what a great opportunity for one bilingual person or just one Spanish speaker to say, hey, we're going to advertise to the Spanish group in our community. And then when they come, you've got that one resource. We did that 5 years ago in Monroe. It started with a question. It started with if we had a Spanish-speaking Bible study, would you come? Yeah, absolutely, I would come. He was more excited about it than I was. He's done a lot of work for my parents when they lived in Louisiana. He still mowed their yard when they left. Really good people. That grew from one little Bible study having over 70 people come through our doors. And then COVID hit and it messed everything up. But we're still functioning now. We're back in person. Everything's good. But it started with that one question. If we had a Spanish Bible study, would you come? I didn't even ask him. I'd helped him for 2 years with other physical things where we built a relationship first. I probably should have asked him that question a long time ago. But when I asked it, he was like, yes, people are looking. And we want to help them find you, not somebody else. And so, we have ambitious goals, but we have an ambitious God. Amen. And so, we want God to be able to utilize us and to utilize you to help people come to know Him. Jesus will not be seen enough in our communities. We're never going to do too much. We're never going to put Him out there too much in our communities. And so, that's our ambition. And I am super excited. I love what I get to do every day. And I want you to be excited about helping Hispanics reach Hispanics here in the U.S. And so we want to close with, did they say 10:45? Man, we cruised through that. I thought I was going to run out of time, so I was trying to speak a little bit too fast. But we've got time for, if you have questions about Mia, Mesa, whatever that is, Mr. Vaughn, yes.
Well, I'm just curious about how do you become a partner in church?
So we, I'll stand up. So partner churches, I'll stand beside you, and then it'll be loud. Partner church. So we have the ability to talk via Zoom, or we can, come in person. But we have several different levels of which you can get different things, all the way from signage to personalized commercials, all that kind of stuff. And so it just kind of depends on what level. And it's not always about the partnership either, because we have other things that I didn't talk about. Or we offer publications for our partners. We offer some engagements where we come and talk with your leadership, or we can talk to your whole congregation. talking about how do you share the story of Jesus. But and then we have something that calls the Strategic Evangelism Plan, and some other documents that focus on how to make your church stronger at what you're doing when it comes to evangelism. So we talk to you individually and talk about what your needs are, and then it's just a monthly partnership that that it's the different levels of money in there. So it's a financial commitment to get the advertising.
So Bob and I are showing churches these opportunities.
Right.
And so I'd like to have like a little menu
Sure.
of things. And
Yes.
If I could ask one more follow-up
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Trying to think about where this is going. Several churches Bob and I worked with have all talked about how they start a Spanish ministry. They don't often have a Spanish speaker to get it started, but maybe if they do, then their ultimate question is, what are we going to do with it? We build a ministry, we have 30, 40 people, we need to have a Spanish service. Or is there a pipeline of Spanish ministers that...
That's a great question. One of the things we want to do is work with...
Have that problem. Wouldn't you like to have that problem?
Yes.
We kind of do in a couple places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even in Green Bay,
Yeah.
they have, I think, 5 to 10 Spanish members and then 50 Anglos. They're hiring a bilingual preacher to focus on the Spanish-speaking population. And so because I know his son Derek and a few other people in Green Bay, they reached out to me. Well, I knew somebody that would be a perfect fit. And so we want to be a resource. If you need a Spanish-speaking preacher, we want to have good relationships with Harding, Freed, Sunset, all of the schools that are producing people that, you don't have to be educated, but people that have that ambition to work and to preach. And so we are well connected with enough people to where we do see people come through that are bilingual that want to work.
So there's a pipeline?
Yes. And so it was just like when Derek and Caleb said, well, it was funny. It's like, hey, do you have any interest in moving to Green Bay? And I was like, no, it's cold up there. But maybe I know somebody. And so I started researching, and I called one guy asking about his dad. And he was like, no, he's going to be in school for 2 years. I was like, well, what about you? He's like, I was like, you're the guy. Because he didn't say no. And so when he hesitated, I thought, you really need to consider doing this. And so we got them together, and he's going to be their pulpit minister, Lord willing, later this year. I think that's still hush-hush, so don't record that part. But I didn't say any names. But no, we want to be able to do that. One of the other things, and if you have more questions, stop me. One of the things we're going to start offering is Spanish as a second language classes for churches that want to be able to engage with their Spanish-speaking population. And that's something we can really only do through Zoom. I can't go, personally to each church that wants to do that. But I teach a class right now, Tuesday mornings at 5 a.m. Derek comes to them. He zooms in on that. And so I have curriculum. It's free. It's digital. And it just walks you through this thing. Tuesday, anybody's welcome to come. But if a congregation says, hey, we're taking a trip to Honduras this summer, we'd like a 2-week intensive or a 1-month intensive, I can set aside part of my schedule to say, if it's during the summer, you have kids that want to do that or go on this trip, let's do noon to 2 on Fridays. And every Friday we'll do that. And if they wanted to zoom in on Tuesday, that's 2 opportunities in the week where they could do that to engage with some Spanish stuff. One of the things that Hispanics really need in the U.S. or want is ESL classes. And so if you have a bilingual person, I can provide you curriculum for ESL, but you have to teach it. And so if you said for this Mesa thing on your website, you said, hey, we offer ESL classes for free, or there's a lot of local universities that offer free Spanish, and they will come to you. And so you can bring people. I had a meeting last night with the church where Dad's at, one of their elders and their bilingual minister. And they said, we have a place that offers free classes. Maybe they would use our building. And absolutely they would. They will go anywhere to put their name out there. Mm-hmm. They want whatever the university is to have some advertisement. That's free advertisement for them, but that's a free resource for the church. Yeah. And so if you get the people there, you may need to have one person that can do childcare. And if you offer free childcare and free English classes, guess who's going to come? Mm-hmm. A whole bunch of people on a Sunday afternoon. And so you got to organize your schedule. And one of the things I would encourage you to do if you have that interest is put a questionnaire out and go door knocking and go to places that are heavily Hispanic populated and say, hey, if we offered free English classes and free childcare on the weekend, what fits your schedule? and let the people decide. Now, you can't meet everybody's need, but you can see we had 50 people say from 2 to 4 would be fine on Sunday afternoons. What we're doing is making your bilingual or your Spanish-speaking minister busy. And so as long as there's somebody to work and they have that ambition, it's going to be successful. You're going to meet the needs of people that will keep coming back.
And one of the cool things that we can do with that is use the technology that we're using with Herald of Truth, like the geofencing, to circle that neighborhood you're going to geofence. And either let them know you're coming or follow it up afterwards so that they know that exists, that class will exist, or that your church exists. Even if it's just regular door knocking, right? That we can use that and send those people the advertisements that are personalized with your congregation's information. We can use the ads that we showed you, or we can do stuff that's just for you and your congregation. This summer we worked on, with some of our church partners, a summer event where they had VBS. So we advertised there at VBS for a couple of weeks prior to. Then we geofenced during VBS and sent them a church ad afterwards, right? Or a gospel meeting or whatever it is. But the idea is to draw attention, again, to that local church, whether it's the Hispanic ministry or the English ministry. And we can do the geofencing just as a la carte thing, not even as a full church partner. And so you asked about the pricing and stuff. We're actually recreating a whole, our president calls it Waffle House menu, but we're creating a whole new menu of different things that we offer that aren't just the full membership, quote unquote, but that you can do a la carte as well. Where as like for we have 4 main markets right now as part of Mission Evangelize America, and that is Nashville, Dallas-Fort Worth, Florence, Huntsville, Alabama, and Abilene, Texas. And twice a year, we do a large blast in those areas. That blast consists of television. Television helps you reach the 55 and over. Over-the-top streaming helps you reach the 54 and below. So that's your Roku channels, your YouTube, live YouTube, whatever, all the streaming services. We also use geofencing, and we do a full blast with our commercials as is. They're not personalized. They're just the generic commercials for the whole broadcast campaign. And we geofence our partner churches in those areas and their neighborhoods or wherever they want to geofence, and try to bring in people to their congregation. We have a congregation in Columbia, Tennessee that's right next to one of the big grocery stores in that area. We geofence their parking lot because everybody's got to come get milk and eggs, right? And so they have the opportunity to get the ads and be invited to that church, whether it's an event or just regular Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night services. And so we have the ability to work with each individual congregation on what they need, right? And that's what the strategic evangelism plan helps us do, is focus on what are their strengths, what are their parts where they need to build up and get strengthened in, but also what events do they have? What do they want to do? Do they want to start a new ministry? Do they want to start? And we have other tools for that where they can, look at ministries and who they have and what the ministries they have and what ones they want to have. And they're just different surveys and congregational tools to see the strength of what they have and where they want to be. And so our whole idea is that it's not about the money, right? The money helps fund the geofencing, and it helps fund that commercials, and it helps, but it's about evangelism.
Amen.
Because if we don't share the story of Jesus, who's going to? Amen. And so we work with people. We have congregations that are a couple thousand people that are part of what we do. We've got congregations that are 10. But the idea is that we share the story of Jesus. That's what Herald of Truth is about. That's what we all should be about.
Yeah, and in addition to that, like the partnership thing, even the smallest partnership, about half of what that costs automatically goes into a digital campaign in your area. And so it's barely breaking even, really. So again, it's not about the money. It's just about replenishing the stuff that's out of our pocket that's for you guys. But again, about the pipeline for preachers, I'm always looking for bilingual ministers that are willing to go and to do. And
So if you're bilingual and you want to go work with Spanish speakers or looking for congregations, you get somebody that can connect you.
mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Jenkins Institute, but they have a really good hub for churches looking for ministers and preachers looking for jobs. And one of the things they do is connect those two things. And that's what we want to do in Spanish. And so, I mean, we do it in English too, but my primary focus is the Spanish-speaking population.
I think you could also, if you consider being a hub for, some of us would be willing to support the cost of a minister to go through the training.
Mm-hmm.
If you know somebody who wants to be a minister, I think you could be a clearinghouse to try to get them routed somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And one of the, again, if there's any questions, raise a hand. We'll call on. I know I'll speak or Joe speak till the time's up. But yes.
So what would be the key thing to have a Spanish ministry here in Sunset?
That's a great question.
They used to have one in the past, and like we were talking, Lubbock is probably 38% or 40% Spanish. And I have not been able to be successful in encouraging to do it,
We need you.
I have an offer myself,
And that's it. And that goes for anybody who wants to start one. We need you. We need somebody to send people to. Now, in addition to that, we need the support of your leadership to support you. Not necessarily financially, but with, yes, we're on board. Here's a place to meet. Here's some resources we have. And then from there, it's letting people know what you're doing here.
Some of the answers that I've gotten, the Spanish ministry is not approved for ministry, and I have heard it from leaders, and it struck me that it's not true,
Mm-hmm.
It is a successful ministry, but there's people that have to get involved to do it. One person is not going to be able to do it, and it's they're going to take a leadership to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that's an unfortunate problem that does exist, is everybody's plate's so full. It's like we don't have space for one more ministry. And so what I did was I approached our leadership 5 years ago, and I said, hey, can we start a Spanish-speaking church in the back? And they said, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, great. And so they were very uninvolved, but I had the space. And so it may be 100% on your back. If they say you can have a space, you let me know, and then we'll get the advertising. But for you, you've got to know what can you offer the Hispanics in this community that they're not getting anywhere else. And so you may need to build a team. And I can tell you from experience, it's so hard to do by yourself. And so you may just say, whether you speak Spanish or not, if you're interested in outreach, come see me. And so if you got two people that says, look, I can hand out flyers, I can offer my presence to open the building, and I can offer getting people water while they're there to study, or I can offer childcare if they bring kids that want to watch a show while you're just getting to know people. But I would suggest in your community, if it was one at a time, saying, I'd like to have you over for dinner, because relationships are what's going to build a work here. Because we have a core group of about 8 that I've known for 5 years, 3 to 5 years. And I've discipled them very intentionally. So we've had a whole lot of people come and go, but that's a core group that I've been able to mentor and continue to mentor. And so for me, Sunday afternoons, and then every Monday night we meet in a coffee shop, and I tell them there's free coffee and free sweetbread if you want to study the Bible. And there's been some nights the Bible never got opened. They wanted to talk about how their week was, and that was just as good. And so it's about that relational aspect, because every time they need a translator, every time they've got a car broke down, every time a kid's got something, my phone's ringing, because that's the relationship they have in that community. It started 5 years ago. And so I would not discourage you in any way, but if it's all on your plate to start, I would start finding 1, 2 people that'd be willing to say, hey, I can show up and just be a body. I don't understand, but I can drink coffee and I can be like, I'm glad you're here. And if you got people who want to learn Spanish, give them my number. I'll set aside time.
I don't know if Luis wants to address kind of the sunset thing. Tell a little bit about what's going on, the work you're doing.
Yes, basically work with the schools in Latin America. We have schools in Nicaragua, Salvador, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, and Cuba, and other places. And we're training preachers to, send them out, plant new churches. We have a new school in Guerrero, Mexico that basically, this school is unique because every student is a church planter. And Freddy Perez is the director, and he has planted 12 churches through the school.
Wow.
So that's very exciting. Other churches, just train preachers and send them to their own congregations, and just, to strengthen those congregations. But that's what I'm involved in.
Has there been any talk here at Sunset about Spanish ministry local?
I don't think so. They, like he said, they have a long time. I think not recently.
I think Sunset has the mentality of taking the Spanish ministry abroad instead of local.
I was about to say, whatever Freddie's doing needs to happen right here. You need a Spanish preaching school here. If we need to train, there's 60 million people here.
The school started out as that.
Yes.
It needs to go back, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I'm semi-retired from ministry, working among Hispanics. And one of the problems that we have identified is the lack of leadership within Hispanic churches of Christ. You will seldom find a church, it's over 100, with elders and deacons. And it seems as though there's a common denominator there that has stunted the growth of churches, Hispanic churches, developing and growing and continue the growth. And we think that is due to a lack of spiritual elders and deacons to help organize and make this machine, grease it up and keep it going. And so maybe that's an area that could be addressed by one of you guys.
On that line, we last year, one of our staff released a book called Follow the Leader,
Okay.
which is addressed at leadership becoming evangelistically minded.
Wonderful.
Because even in the English-speaking congregation, there's a reason that they're closing 2 to 5 a week, because there is not evangelistically minded leadership. And so Chase doesn't know this yet, but
He's about to give me a responsibility. He's about to give me a responsibility.
we want to translate that book into Spanish ministry-oriented leadership. And so that is, you just served up a softball for me.
I come from a Bible classes for children, teenagers, and whatnot. And however, I have recently associated myself with non-Bible class churches of Christ. And boy, they are dying so fast at the line because they have no future, with young people, with young couples, and the like. And in fact, we just had a recent meeting with them, and I brought this up. And there's a lot of tradition within the non-Bible class churches of Christ.
Yes, sir.
That they're unwilling to give. And I'm stressing to them, this is why you don't have much of a future, unless you change your mindset. And so it's a slow process and somewhat exasperating for me. But they still want me to help them teach. There's a Bible Institute. Most of you are probably not familiar with it. It's supported by, get this, by non-Bible class churches of Christ. there's an institute in San Angelo that has been there for over 30 years. And here recently, I connected with them, and they've asked me to start teaching classes in Spanish. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching courses like, courses that will encompass everyone, not necessarily just doing the Church of Christ traditional teachings, if I may say that. I taught classes like how to interpret the Bible for all it's worth. It's in Spanish. Dr. Lightfoot's book on how we got the Bible is in Spanish. And so courses like that is what I'm trying to encourage there in San Angelo, to not only Churches of Christ, Bible class and non-Bible class, but also to the Hispanic community as a whole.
That's great.
Hey, what I would add to that is I think one of the biggest problems with Hispanic churches in the U.S. is we've tried to create the Anglo church in a Spanish version, and it doesn't work. It's a huge no-no. And the American side of that can't see that culture, it's not just Spanish culture different than American culture, because Spanish culture in the U.S. is different than Spanish culture in the Spanish country itself.
Yes, sure.
And so you're crossing so many barriers with trying to help them, which is why the relationship is so important. I mean, if you took us downstairs on a Sunday morning here at Sunset, how many people on the right side of the building know the people on the left side? It's too big. They don't. We hi, how's it going? Good. How are you? Then we leave.
Yeah.
And so for what you want to do here and what we did in Monroe, it was start a relationship and have people in your home. You don't even need a building. And we wouldn't need a building to help you with Mesa. I'd provide you everything you needed resource-wise if they wanted to study. But building relationships in our home is what's going to build the church. Our church services now are a roundtable discussion with the Lord's Supper in the middle of us, with prayer time and seeing what people need. I don't have to preach every week for it to be a church service. They don't have to hear me preach for us to have a relationship. And if they have Bible questions, they ask their Bible questions. I love to preach. I love to teach. But I love the relationship more. The teaching's going to come. But if I don't build a relationship first, it doesn't matter how many books I've written, how many things I've translated, or how much I know about the Bible. They're not seeing Jesus. They're seeing a guy that's telling them what to do instead of, how can I help you? I don't know if you guys have seen the show Amsterdam. I don't recommend it. It's a TV series. But one of the things this medical director does is he comes, first day on the job, he walks in, everybody's mad in the whole facility. And he walks in, he says, how can I help? That's what we want to do. If you have a need, our question, how can we help? You want to start, you want to enhance a Spanish ministry, how can we help? And you know better what you need than we do, which is why we don't say you need this program or this sponsorship. You tell us what you need, and that's what we're going to work to take care of for you.
I don't know how the best way to say what I've been feeling for a long time about how we, as Church of Christ folks, approach ministry. I've looked in our curriculum these couple of days. I've grown up in the Church of Christ. And I've learned that, I'm hearing, I keep hearing, we're losing churches, we're losing people, we're losing our own kids. I keep asking myself, why? And it seems like the only answer we give is teach the truth. In the religious world, there's the grace churches and there's the truth churches. And we are definitely truth churches. And we're kind of weak on the grace side. Grace not being just unmerited favor. Grace being what you've been talking about. You did it several times. It's okay, thank you. It's relationship. It's building those relationships. And it's not waiting for people to come to our building. It's not building our church. It's about service.
Yes.
If we were out there reaching people in the communities, that would be very attractive. And we wouldn't have to worry about our congregation growing. But you don't see it on the curriculum these 2 days. There's a couple of titles about serving the addictive folks. That's service. There's some other one, I can't remember what it is. But you don't hear it coming from us. And we don't, the Herald of Truth, a wonderful program. But you don't hear them talking about service. It's all about teaching. I heard someone say, we Church of Christ, we smack them in the face with the truth and hope they stick around long enough to get the grace.
So one of our seminars, engagements that we do, is called Church Inside Out. Tim Archer is our international director. And he wrote the book, Church Inside Out, that talks about being the church outside the walls. Tell the stories, talking about going and telling the story of Jesus to people who need it. How do you use your story to tell the story? And part of the thing that Steve talks about is going into people's lives and interacting with them to build the relationship, to serve them in a way that builds up the trust that when the story is told, they get it. They understand what that is. And one of the things that we didn't talk about this, but when we're out of time, we're about to start a 24-hour, 7 days a week internet radio station, Herald of Truth, that is going to have some of Brother Baxter's sermons on it. It's going to have new stuff on it. Wes McAdams, if y'all are familiar with Wes, Chris McCurley, some of their stuff is on it. We're going to have some acapella music. We're all going to have stuff on it, but all to engage with those that are lost, but also to equip and encourage those the saints, to go do the evangelism. And in our opinion, just what you said, evangelism isn't just going out and shoving a Bible in their face. In our opinion, at Herald of Truth, evangelism is going and doing. You can't make a disciple without having a relationship and working along beside them. You've got to do, the Great Commission doesn't just say go. There's a conjunction in there that says and make. And you have to do both in order for them to have a relationship and build a relationship with Jesus. And we want to do that either if it's the English side or the Spanish ministry side. We want it to be effective so that people know and have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Well, John says that Jesus came to grace and truth. And it's interesting that grace is mentioned first. When you look at Jesus' ministry, what did he do? He treated people. He took care of people. That's right. Before he talked to them. Amen. And we've got it backwards.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank y'all very much.
Appreciate all of you. Appreciate your questions.